welcome to Chelsea Perspective. And today I have with me a very special guest, Lams React. Lams, I'd have you introduce yourself by yourself because you do a better job than I'll do introducing you. Please introduce yourself and let the viewers know how they can find you, your great YouTube channel, to get a glimpse of your great content.
Oh, thank you. Don't be silly. That was a lovely introduction from yourself anyway. And yeah, literally just like Coachella said, you can find me my YouTube channel, Lams Reacts as well. You can also find me on JNA TV. Sometimes I'm on Midnight Vibes on Football Terrace, I have to say, because life has just been so busy and hectic. I've not been on there lately, like since we restarted. But I do hope to make an appearance there soon as well. The Offside Rule, here, there, and basically everywhere, pretty much. Yeah, so me on Twitter, this is quite new as well. So I literally just got Twitter. So I think I'm approaching my 1 month Twitter anniversary, almost.
Yeah, it should be around that number because I recall when you joined Twitter.
Exactly. So I joined around like towards the end of May. So it's kind of nearing towards the end of June, so I'm almost near my 1 month anniversary on Twitter, so I'm still fairly like new back on that as well. Obviously Instagram was like my main source of social media that I was using as well, and that's my Instagram handle over there at Lami Ahmed. So yeah, I just do a lot. I'm just here, there, and everywhere basically, and of course, as you know, massive Chelsea fan as well. Of course,
I know you're one of the most emotional Chelsea fan I've ever seen. But
do you know what I am? Do you know what? And this is like I try not to, because people always like, oh my god, you should do watch-alongs and stuff, and I'm like, I like, because the thing is, even when I go to the matches, when I go to the stadiums, like I prefer to just go alone, because sometimes like when I'm there, I'm worse than the men. I'll just be there, like I'll be the loudest one in the whole goddamn.
That's passion.
I mean? And I don't want to, like, you know, sometimes when you go with other people, they're not really into football. They're just, they're your friends going in like solidarity.
Yeah.
They're trying to talk to you about life, and you're just like, excuse me, the match is on. Can you just? So, no, I don't like that, because I'll be there like screaming at the referee, screaming at the players, cheering, losing my voice, hugging like all the fans around me, like. Yeah, that's me.
Lams, again, thank you very much for taking the time to introduce yourself. And I must say it's a pleasure getting to know you, because I love your passion about the club and the way you talk about Chelsea players. And unfortunately, it's not good to always see you when Chelsea lose a game. It can be scary to see you talk about Chelsea when they lose a game.
Also, especially after I've had a few drinks, that's for sure.
Yes, well, it's natural, it doesn't hurt to every now and then get tipsy, So that's by the way. Today, we're going to talk about one of Lam's favorite players at Chelsea, and I'm guessing you already know who I'm talking about. Yes, she's dancing. Today, we're going to talk about Billy Gilmour, his future at Chelsea, how he's performed under Thomas Tuchel, and whether he's better off going out on loan or staying and developing under the manager who both you and I both know probably has a long-term future at Chelsea, given the job he's done and his management capabilities, his tactical capabilities and all that. So Lams, I'm going to start by asking you, why do you love Billy Gilmour so much?
I think what I really admire about Billy Gilmour is that he kind of came into this team in like a competition that we weren't really taking seriously at the time. If you recall the FA Cup, we were coming up against Liverpool, the so-called champions, even though they were rotating, not the so-called, they were champions, but at that point they hadn't been officially crowned the champions, but they were like 20 points clear of everybody else at this point anyway, so it was clear that they were going to be the champions. They'd rotated the squad, but not that much, so they still had like the majority of their first team players, like their big name players in the team.
Yes.
And this this kid just came out of nowhere, and I was excited to see him because I'd heard like a lot of talk about him, you know, from the youth academy and stuff. And it was like, oh, Billy Gilmour. Like, why? I was like, who's this Billy Gilmour? Like, why are people calling for us to play him in midfield? Especially because, you know, that was the year where Chelsea were starting to bring in some of the youth players from the youth academy into the first team as well, because of that transfer ban as well. And seeing how he absolutely thrived, he was brilliant in that game against Liverpool. And I think since then, I was always like, I want to see more of him. I want to see if this is just like a one game thing, or whether like he genuinely is talented. He really is that special and talented. And I have to say, from that point onward to the present time, I know there's been like, you know, managers have been sacked and new managers have come in, and, you know, new players have come in, players have gone out, and all of that usual palaver that surrounds Chelsea. But every time I've seen this guy play, and I've seen him when he gets minutes, especially towards the later stages of like this season as well, I've never sat there and thought, oh, he's had a terrible game today. Like, there are some times where maybe it takes him a little bit of time to grow into the game, and that's due to his lack of game time, his lack of playing time. But he's so brave. Like, he gets in there, he makes tackles, interceptions. He's very forward thinking in his ball abilities, his technical abilities there as well. He can hit him, he can whip some beautiful balls in. Like, we've seen that, and I'm just like, wow. This guy is special. He's talented. And for me, those are qualities that I look for in a quality centre-back, and quality CDM, basically, in a central defensive midfielder. For me, I feel like he exhibits those. And for him to be that age already and showing this level of potential talent, I'm just thinking, why are we not affording him the game time? You can see every time he's on the pitch, he's brave, and he's calling for the ball. He's running into spaces. He's not afraid to get in there and make tackles, even though he's so little. He's not afraid, and that's why I absolutely love. Do you know what I mean? And I think Scotland maybe played themselves a little bit. I heard maybe he was injured, maybe he took a knock in training, in which case, if that's the case, then I understand. But still, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, then throw him on in the second half. I don't know, because it wasn't really going too well for them at points. But I think he's somebody that England have to look out for, especially if they play him there. He's what links that midfield to that attack in front, I think. And Mason Mount should be careful, because Mason Mount's played in a team with him, so he knows what he's capable of. Very, very talented player. And for somebody who's so underestimated, I think that works well for him, because people are not expecting much from him. So when he comes out, he absolutely just blows people away. They're like, wow, Billy Gilmour. I mean, the friendly game right before the Euros started, he was phenomenal, sensational. I'm just like, look at that. Billy Esther Minerals right there.
Yeah, I mean, his qualities are exceptional. He progresses the ball very well than most of the midfielders we have right now. He has good vision. He's brave. Even though he's not the biggest of the players on the pitch, he'd still take that risk. You can't muscle him out of the ball. You can't scare him. I mean, that's awesome to see at his age, and his build. Like I said, he's not the biggest or the tallest, but he's got that what we call ball sense, and his quick thinking also. That's the most important aspect of his game. And what's not to love about him? So I don't blame you for loving him that much. And another question I have for you: would you say that Billy Gilmour is a regista, or a defensive midfielder, or just a box-to-box midfielder? Which would you say he is?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I think for me, he exhibits abilities of being box to box, being very defensively minded as well. And you can see that from the way he's so quick to like intercept, make those early interceptions, those early tackles, you know, and not as deep as you'd expect like a CDM to make those. And he wants to make them a little bit further up that pitch, you know what I mean? Get that ball forward as quickly as possible, prevent it from getting deep as well. So for me, I feel like he exhibits, you know, qualities of both senses as well. for me, he's also quick. If he does lose the ball, he's quick to run, to get back, to track back as well. And for me, that's somebody that, we have somebody in that position that I feel like just, I know people sing his praises and stuff. For me, I feel like he doesn't do that enough. And for that being your job as well, because if you look at Kante, that's not even his natural position as a CDM. He is more of like a number 8 and more of a box-to-box midfielder. Do you know what I mean? That is more his style. And you can see that when we see him bombing forward, he looks completely comfortable. But because he's been put in those positions, he's so versatile and he's adaptable, he's managed to implement that part into his game. So you see Kante dropping in deep, covering, so the likes of Jorginho, Kovacic can push ahead towards the attacking players, because he'll stay there, he'll make those interceptions, he'll make those tackles, and then he'll carry the ball forward sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So, and I feel like Billy Gilmour, he exhibits and shows me traces of that as well. And it's so exciting to see that in a player so young. And I'm just thinking, wow, the sky's only the limit from here, because I haven't really seen him have like an awful, when people kind of like get on that hype and then they have like a few dips and you're like, rah.
Yes.
That
I
hype,
agree with you. Yes.
The hype with Emile Smith-Rowe, at Arsenal, for example, he went on a couple of games where he had like a phenomenal run, and then he kind of had a few games where he was a bit non-existent. I've never really seen that with Billy Gilmour. Like, I've seen games where he actually does have influences in those positions. I'm just seeing him everywhere in that midfield, and I'm just like, wow. He's just like this little ball of energy. He's just running into spaces. All I'm seeing is his arm, like, here, find me, give me the ball. He's always hungry for the ball. Do you know what I mean? People talk about those kind of traits of Mason Mount. Billy Gilmour shows them too as well. Billy Gilmour wants the ball. He's a hard worker. He shows the same kind of hard working mentality as Mason Mount as well. Not to mention that beautiful technical ability he has. There's passes that Jorginho puts in sometimes. He can put those passes in too. We've seen him do it. So
yes, I think you can actually argue that after Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Billy Gilmour is the second most technically gifted player ever to have come through the Chelsea Academy. And that's, by the way, for me, I would say that Billy Gilmour is a mashup of you could say a box-to-box midfielder and also a regista. He's a hybrid regista because he can also defend, he can also support the attack, and is technically gifted. He can, telegraph those long balls, short balls. He can control the tempo of the game also. And that's, like I said before, what's not to like about the boy? He's good. He's got everything in his. Yes, exactly. Yeah, he ticks every boxes, And I was going to ask you also, do you think he would be better off going out on loan or staying and developing under Thomas Tuchel? Which do you think is the best option for him? If you happen to be the one to make that decision for him, what would you suggest he suggest to him?
It's really, really difficult, because at the end of the day, for somebody so young, I would still think he still has a say in this team right now. We are competing for competitions. There's the Premier League, obviously. That's a lot of games. That's 38 games. You know what I mean? There's going to be injuries. Players are going to need to be rested, because there's going to be Champions League games midweek sometimes. You're going to have FA Cup games in between that, Carabao Cup games. If we want to be that team, if we want to be on City's level, we need to be like that. We need to have a squad capable of competing on all fronts. We need to have players that we can rotate into these competitions. So I'd like to see Billy Gilmour start in that CDM role, stay in the Carabao Cups. I'd like to see him maybe get subbed on, get a few minutes in some Champions League group games maybe. And if he shows merit, like, because I like that Tuchel credits players on the basis of merit, not on the basis of their name or how much their price tag is. And I feel like under a manager like that, being around players like that, I think that would do him the world of good. Just look at Phil Foden. Look at how he's thriving. He's already naturally such a gifted young player anyway.
Perfect example, by the way.
But he's surrounded by world-class players. So that just that just encourages his development more. And when you think of Saka, another unbelievable talent, another unbelievable young talent, and you think of the players he's surrounded by, and you're like, are they going to stunt his growth? Because sometimes you do see him looking a little bit burnt out because they're asking more of what's required of him, because he's somebody that's still developing. Doesn't really make sense. So I think Billy Gilmour should be afforded the opportunity, especially because it's not like other positions, like midfield attacking positions, where we've got so many options. We've still got players in those positions that are out on loan and at decent clubs as well, but they still belong to us. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of CDM, we don't really have much rotation in those positions. So even if we did get a CDM, we have five CDMs. We have 5 CDMs competing across 4 competitions across the season, where there's going to be a packed schedule, not to forget that Christmas schedule as well. It's going to be very, very busy as well. There's going to be injuries. Like you said, you're going to need rotation. Look what's happened to Liverpool this season, and this is why City are able to compete on all these fronts, because of that squad depth. A lot of their bench players could walk into a lot of these big sixes.
And you make perfect sense, and you hit the nail right on the head when you say we need a very big squad, because there's a lot of competitions to play, and we need to be ready to be competing on all fronts. There is the FA Cup, there is the Champions League, the Premier League, there is also the World Club Cup, and also is it called the Super Cup, and so many of them. And for me, I would argue that the best option for him would be to stay at the club, because he's gained ground. He's gained some ground under Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel has taken his time to watch him in training. He's talked about him on occasions during his press conferences, and he's come to realize that he's actually a good player. And he started him on 2 occasions in 2 high-profile games, of which he did quite well. So it doesn't make sense to hear people argue that he should leave on loan, because leaving on loan would mean he's hitting the reset button. He starts from 0, because when you go out on loan, you must be exceptional on loan to come back and walk straight back into the team. But when you stay and play under the manager, who you and I and most of the Chelsea fan base believe has a long-term future at Chelsea, you get to learn how he wants players to play. You're training with the team, so that gives you an added advantage. Plus, you're a good player. So I appreciate you taking the time to answer that question, and you make some great points about him staying and also fighting for his place. And also, there are quite a lot of games to play, and there's no that possibility for all players to play all the games. They are humans after all. If they don't rest, they will burn out eventually. So, coming to his overall performance since the arrival of Thomas Tuchel at the club, how would you rate his performance under Thomas Tuchel?
It's really difficult to kind of I'd say it's kind of all right. I'd give him like an average, maybe say 6, maybe like a low end 6. And that's literally only down to the fact that he's not really got much playing time. Like, I think I did pull up some stats. I did it on my channel as well.
You can go ahead and share it if you have it.
What can I?
Yeah, I think you could, or you can talk about it. Then I'll add.
Oh yeah, I'll just talk about it. It's quite.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's quite. There's really not much to go through because he didn't really play much, isn't it? So yeah, his overall appearances, 14 appearances, 3 Premier League starts, 2 substitutions, 4 appearances in the FA Cup, 1 Champions League start and 1 Champions League substitution appearance. Total minutes played, 355 minutes in the whole season. So not much playing time at all. Tackles, 0.6. Interceptions, 0.7. Fouls, 0.4. So for the amount of minutes he's played, those are not bad numbers for somebody in that position. That means he's doing his job. He's not there's been no like calamities in the back since he's been like in those positions. Do you know what I mean? I think people will sit there and blame him for, I think, giving away that penalty, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame him too tough for that. I think that's one of those controversial.
You could still argue that wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, I don't think that was a penalty either. But at the end of the day, up until that point, I thought he did well. He did. He held his ground.
What on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would give him for the fact that in the small amount of time he played, he did well. So his conversion rate was pretty great, pretty high for the amount of time he was afforded compared to a lot of other players. I'd probably give him a 6.
Well, I'm gonna beat you on that one. Even though he's your boy, I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10 because he's played just a few games, and in all the games he's played, I think he won only one of them. That was the game he didn't, or 2 of them he didn't win man of the match because I'm adding the games he's played under Frank Lampard too. So maybe I tricked you there, maybe.
You're trying to catch me.
So another question for you. Do you think if he was picked for the UEFA Champions League final, do you think he would have done an excellent job and who would have still won the game had he started that match?
If Billy Gilmour was starting in the
if he started the UEFA Champions League final, do you think he would have done an excellent job and we would have still won the game?
I don't know. I genuinely don't think I don't think it would have been calamitous, to be honest, because if you think about it, the way Manchester City play and even the way Liverpool play, it kind of works to our advantage because they play openly. They don't sit back and defend. They look to try and attack you, which opens up spaces in the midfield, and that suits somebody like him perfectly. I mean, we were talking about one of his breakthrough game was against Liverpool. Again, the champions Liverpool, so a better Liverpool team than the Liverpool we've seen this season, and he still was absolutely phenomenal. We saw he was just spinning them up. He was just spinning them in midfield. I think maybe he would have struggled a little bit. I think maybe he might have had to maybe come off in the 70th minute, because somebody like that, he's just running around. He's just going to exert his energy as well. Especially, we know City, they like to hold the ball. They're ball holders as well. So retaining possession, passing the ball about. We like to kind of do the same as well. So that's why possession was kind of even. It'll be evenly based. Maybe one or the other will just about edge each other.
You think he would have been overwhelmed by the occasion that it is a UEFA Champions League final?
I don't think I would have kept him on for the whole game, because he would have been tired out, just because he literally runs everywhere. So, and you even see it with a lot of the, even Timo Werner, sometimes you have to take him off because he'll just burn himself out with his pace. He'll just be making all of those runs. And sometimes we can't keep him on for the full 90 minutes because he'll just have no energy. He'll just be burnt out. That's it. And sometimes when I'm just seeing Billy Gilmour, just he's always one of those players who's never really static in midfield. Some of the other CDMs can afford to be static sometimes. They'll just kind of just stand there, act like centre backs, but he's never really, he's always just drifting into spaces, into pockets, taking players, creating spaces for other players, holding up the ball, laying the ball off as well. So somebody like that, and especially because when you're playing ball-based football, possession-based football,
yes,
with
I understood.
Yeah. So I
think when I talk about him, go ahead. When I thought about him starting the UEFA Champions League final, I didn't even see it from the perspective of him tiring out before the end of the game, and that's a great point. But had I been the coach, I would have given him at least a few minutes just for that experience on a big stage, because he's maturing and he needs that few minutes in that UEFA Champions League final And I would argue actually that I think he would have done an excellent job given that City did not start a defensive midfielder. It would have been a problem had Fernandinho started, but he didn't start. But with Gundogan, I think Billy Gilmour could have done an actually even better job than I wouldn't. I don't want to cause a problem, but I think, let me just put it this way. I do believe he would have done a very good job had he started that game. But that's, by the way, he was on the bench. It was a good experience for him. And he's won the medal too. It doesn't matter whether he played the game or not. So, Lams, on a final note, go ahead, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I said he won the medal because he think he's played enough minutes of Champions League to earn a medal as well. So, and I think I said he has like two Champions League appearances in the whole competition.
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the number.
Under Lampard in like the earlier group stages, so that's why he's earned his medal. So yeah, again, going forward, especially if he does stay at the club, which I'd very much like him to. I'd like to see him, if not starting these Champions League games, like especially in the group stage games as well, substitute him on with like 20 minutes to go, get him those minutes on that big stage against those big oppositions.
Yeah. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer that question. On a final note, what do you have to say to the Chelsea fan base in case Billy Gilmour leaves on loan? If he decides to stay and fight for his place and join Chelsea in preseason training, what message do you have for the Chelsea fan base?
I would urge them to support him. I would urge them to watch him, pay attention to him, just really pay attention to him. Like, look at his stats, look at his performances, and understand that I don't think he's done too much wrong for us to kind of just be quick to shun him out. I mean, not me personally, but I think some of our fan base, and I think obviously I know the manager's got something to do with it as well. But now we've seen what's happened with Tomori since he's gone on loan, and then the clause that was attached to him. And I just don't want us to be in that position where we lose another potential young talent, which I think Tomori is going to be. I think we are in a position of being in that with Callum Hudson-Odoi as well, because he's another great talent as well, but it looks like maybe he could go on loan, or possibly could actually be bought, or he could go on loan with a clause with an option to buy, which could be a decent enough price where they will activate that clause, similar to Tomori. So I don't want us to be put in that position where we end up losing these amazing talents and they go on to be absolutely phenomenal and they end up kicking our asses in finals or semi-finals and knocking us out of competitions. We're just going to sit there like, I told you guys about this person. And I think especially in a position where we don't really have that many options, it's very hard to actually go out and find like a top world-class CDM. We already have one. We already have one of those in our squad, but to go out and get another one, to poach another one from a big club, that's going to require a lot of money, and sometimes it's very, very, very difficult to negotiate these deals, and sometimes you have to settle for like your second choice or your third choice. And if we do end up in that position, because I know we're hearing a lot of talks about Hakimi and Haaland and strikers and stuff, but I'm not really hearing too many confirmations and talks about CDMs and stuff. So if it ends up that we end up missing on our top targets, we have somebody who's quite talented who we could rotate in amongst, if it ends up that we don't get CDM at the end of this transfer window, we still have 4 players in that position. We still have a Jorginho, we still have Kante, we have Kovacic, and we have Billy Gilmour. And it would be very, very good to see Billy Gilmour used more, especially if we do end up with just 4 of those players in that position.
Lams, thank you very, very much. I appreciate you taking the time to advise the fans to support him and be patient with him and pay attention to his stats and what he's done. And he hasn't at any time disappointed whenever he started games. Lams, again, please, it's a pleasure to have you on, and I look forward to having you again on my platform, because your knowledge of the game is something that I always would like to tap into. But before we end it, please take your time to tell the fans again how to find you, where they can, how everything about your channel and all the social media platforms where you have presence, so that they can go check it out.
Yeah, so like you said, you can find my YouTube channel is Lams Reacts. It's also Lams Reacts on Twitter and Lami Elmed on Instagram. Yeah, that's basically my socials where you can find me. Also, GNA TV, Football Terrace, First 11 on the Offside Rule. Other people's channels.
FC too.
Monsters channel, yeah, Monsters channel as well. I can't believe I forget that as well. I'm always on there as well. KH No Filter Football, so I actually do a show with the guys, like the rival show sometimes, but the season's over, so we're taking a little bit of a break, which is good. And yeah, I'm just pretty much here, there, and everywhere, to be honest. And
yeah, so make sure, guys, you go check out her YouTube channel. Check her out and on Twitter and also Instagram. More importantly, check out her YouTube channel if you love to see people talk about Chelsea with so much passion. Lams is your person. She will never disappoint you if you love to watch people who talk about Chelsea with passion. Check out her content, like, comment, share her videos, and more importantly, subscribe and click on the notification button so that you will always get notified whenever she uploads a new video. And also, please do the same on Chelsea Perspective. Like, comment, share the videos, and more importantly, click on the notification button so you don't miss anything. Lams, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I will plan another one-on-one with you because it's been fun talking to you. Thank you very much, and God bless.
As well.
Yes, definitely.